This $14,000 lens is one of the most coveted wildlife photography lenses in the world. This is the Sony 600mm f4 G Master. Is it actually worth $14,000? Basically the price of a used car. Maybe a down payment on a home in some places. You can even buy a camper with that money. Matt Zeffi here. I make videos about photo and video on this channel, and today I'm talking about this lens that I've been taking all around Tetons and Yellowstone here, and I've been using this lens for about 2 years, so I've wanted to talk a little bit about the image quality, autofocus, the overall performance, the image stabilization, and of course, whether it's actually worth $14K. So first things first, you may be wondering, where did the $14K come from? I thought this thing was $13K. And that's because it's actually gone up in price since I originally bought it. And that is because of the tariffs. So it was around 13 and now it's at 14. And a lot of things do translate between the 600 and the 400, which the 400 I believe is also around 13.5 or even 14,000 as well. I also have, grab it. Of course I've got it right down there. My 200 to 600. This, by the way, is a fantastic lens. But enough of that, because this is about this boy. So just for a little bit of context, I am a wildlife and landscape photographer and videographer. That's why I'm here in Tetons right now. It's not a green screen, although it kind of looks like it. It looks like a green screen in real life. And the reason that I got this lens was I was shooting on an island in Alaska, filming bears for a company, and I was using the 200 to 600, which is all I had at the time, which is again a fantastic lens. But as it was getting into the darker hours when the sun is actually a little bit better, I really needed that f4 aperture, and I just thought to myself, you know, I'm on this island in the middle of nowhere, kind of a once in a lifetime experience. I mean, hopefully I'll go again. And I thought to myself, why would I not have the best lens to do this job? And that was one of the reasons that after that trip I came home and bought this lens. Now, I was still really pleased with the footage I got, but I do think it would have been better with the 600. So what is the reason for all the hype around this lens? Aside from the actual price itself, which is already very shocking, the f4 aperture is what makes it stand out so much. That means you're getting incredible compression. Of course, you're getting the compression of a 600mm matched with f4, that shallow depth of field. It just compresses the background and isolates your subject so beautifully, and the bokeh, of course, is amazing as well. And I think the allure around that is just how rare f4 at 600mm together is, that when you see an image, it almost stands out distinctively. Not to mention the fact that wildlife photographers can shoot a little bit later into the evening hours or earlier in the morning because of that extra stop and a half of light from the other telephoto lenses, which again brings about more unique images as well. Anytime that you could do something that another lens can't do or not do as well, that makes it pretty unique and just brings more photos that you wouldn't otherwise see. But I can't go any further without talking specifically about the body of the 600, because obviously it's a very big lens and it comes in around 6.7 pounds, which is still very light in comparison to the other focal lengths at this focal length on the market. And 6.7 pounds, definitely heavier than the 200 to 600. I will say it is balanced really well. When you're actually shooting with it, you don't really feel like, you know, your hand's gonna tip forward or back, but it is still heavy and you're probably gonna wanna use it on a tripod. Not as heavy as the Bigma or Sigma 300 to 600 f4, which definitely plays a big role in this video as well, although I won't be directly comparing them today. I did do a video at B&H for the 300 to 600 and it was a very big lens. You also might notice that I don't have the lens hood on here, which perhaps is a little crazy for some. I have actually got this, here I'll show you. I've actually got this like travel lens hood, and it just kind of pops on just like that. And what's nice about it is it folds up really well. And the other major difference is it's not $1,000. The original lens hood that comes with this is $1,000 to replace, which just seems a little crazy. So I've pretty much left it in storage, and the portability of this is so much better because let me tell you, that original lens hood is just huge. And looking at the front element, you're not going to be putting a filter on this, and I've not really used filters with this lens, but there is the option. There's a little drop-in filter piece, removable piece on the back here, so you can use drop-in filters if you choose to with this lens. I've also got camo on the entire lens itself. I did this on day one mainly as a way to help protect the lens. I don't really think that it's hiding in any way. It's just, it helps to protect the lens. It's a little thick, and you know, from any dings or scratches, which I'm really hoping won't happen to this lens. I understand that you're supposed to use this gear, but you know what, it's $14,000. Also, taking a look at the size comparison between the 600 and the 200 to 600. So it's quite a bit bigger. One thing that is often pointed out about this lens is the image stabilization. It is an older lens at this point. I believe it came out in like either 2019 or earlier. I found it not that much worse than the 200 to 600. And to be fair, most people are going to be using this lens on a tripod. For video, I certainly do. However, for photo, I'm fine with shooting handheld. I will say with the 200 to 600, I feel like I can actually shoot video handheld with that, whereas this, it's really less of an option because it's just so shaky. I've done it, and I'll play a clip here where I shot that handheld, but it's just not as smooth. When it comes to the autofocus, this thing is incredibly fast. Sony autofocus is already just very advanced, and this lens is no different. Obviously, it's a little bit of an older lens again, and I'm sure if they do any updates, it will probably be even faster. As far as features on the body, it has all of the basic settings that a telephoto lens you would expect to have, like your focus limiter and things like that. You can also use a recall button to set the focus to recall, which would be especially useful in sports. There's also a twist custom button. When shooting handheld with this, I will say, after a little bit of time, I definitely get pretty fatigued using it, and I work out somewhat regularly, like I like to think that I work out for being able to kind of carry gear and whatnot into crazy places. And it's of course the 2 pounds or 1.5 pounds that you save with the 200 to 600 just makes that a little bit easier to handhold overall. When it comes to image quality, I mean, there is literally no complaints about this lens. It's damn near perfect. It is actually pretty mind-boggling, and I've been pairing it with the A7 IV right now. Clearly, when it comes to image quality, this is best in class. And I'll probably compare it to the 200 to 600 in an upcoming video, so definitely subscribe if you'd like to see that video in the future and hit the notification bell because it's coming soon. I've already been testing it around the Yellowstone area. When it comes to low light performance, this is basically its strongest suit. It's a super fast f4 prime for 600 millimeters, and that is what sets this lens apart from all of the other telephoto lenses. The ability to shoot in lower light, still have a somewhat high shutter speed and a somewhat low ISO, means that this lens can really give you crisper images in those low light scenarios, the end of the day or early mornings. Another major area where this lens shines over some of the zoom telephoto lenses that Sony offers is the teleconverter performance, and that I actually won't really use a teleconverter with the 200 to 600 or 400 to 800, but I will definitely use a teleconverter with this to put it at 840 or even 1200 mil. And I find that the teleconverter performance is just out of this world using the 600 prime. And it actually is usable, which is fantastic because you're losing stops of light whether you're using the 1.4x or the 2x, and so you definitely want to have as much light as possible coming into the lens with a fast prime like this. And I know some folks will use the teleconverters on the 200 to 600 and 400 to 800. You probably get away with the 1.4x, 2x less so. It gets way too dark. You basically have to be shooting in the brightest of light possible, which is never that flattering. It kind of looks a little cheesy if I'm being honest. Whereas with a fast prime, you can kind of shoot in more unique lighting scenarios where it would actually be much darker out, but the lens can really compensate for that. For that reason, it gives you very unique perspectives. What was really cool is I even adapted this lens to my Nikon ZR, and I was kind of impressed with the performance. It's going to come down to the adapter a lot as well, but for the most part I was able to get focus and it provided some incredible images for sure. So what are some of the problems with this lens? Of course, number one is the price. Number two, the image stabilization can be improved. Number three, the minimum focus distance I believe is around 15 feet. And to me, it's just not close enough. We could definitely do better than that. The 200 to 600 is better than that, especially if you're photographing small birds, which is one of the main points of this lens. Then you're going to want to be as close as possible. Obviously, you might not be able to get closer than 15 feet, so it might not even matter. But if I had like the perfect shot of a bird, but it was just slightly too close because of that minimum focusing distance, I'd be pretty upset. Of course, you could back up from there, but then you might have to crop and lose resolution. It's just, I think that that's something that they can improve on. Also, I would love to see a built-in Arca Swiss plate. I've got a replacement foot for Arca Swiss. I'm adapting it to Manfrotto right now, which is a little silly, but I think that they should just, out of the box give you a Arca Swiss plate or something like that, or foot that has Arca Swiss on it, instead of having to have a third-party replacement. People kind of get all crazy lens caps for this thing too, but I love this lens coat one as well, just because it's so much easier to put on and doesn't really damage anything. Other things that I don't like about it, of course, is going to be the size, but it's hard to really get around that because it's such a massive focal length. But seriously, I mean, I live full-time in a camper, and it feels like this thing really like takes up a good portion of it. Not literally, but it's definitely, it has its footprint. And also, speaking of footprint, you're going to need a dedicated backpack for this. I had to get an upgraded backpack in order to fit this, and if you want to have the camera body mounted as well while it's in the backpack, then you're going to need a very big backpack, which makes flying on airlines a little bit more difficult. And speaking of, I don't really want to check this in, so finding a backpack that fits the bill for this can be really challenging, and so far I've been fine with the Action 60X from Shimoda. Another thing that's really annoying is because it's so expensive, I'd never really I don't want to leave this lens in my car if I'm going out for an extended period of time or even a short period of time. So it's honestly always in the back of my head that I've got this lens or this backpack in my car or somewhere, and I feel like I always need to kind of baby it. And I know it's a piece of gear and you've got to get comfortable with it, and I feel like I've done a pretty good job, all things considered. But still, I mean, it's kind of a lens that you're going to want to take really good care of, versus the 200-600 where you don't have to really baby it as much. But other than those things, I can't really see what else they would improve. It's a damn near perfect lens. So then it brings us back to our original question. Is this lens worth $14,000? Of course, the answer is a little bit nuanced. It's also worth noting with this lens compared to the 200-600, you're going to miss shots. Like, it has happened to me, wildlife ends up getting closer, so you always want to make sure that you have a second body with a lens like a 100-400 for things that are a little bit closer. Why is that? Because 600 is an extreme focal length, and the 200-600 just offers so much more versatility at almost $2,000. And this was one of the things that I was going back and forth with when I was contemplating this lens, and I actually asked Sony artisan Kobe Brown about it, and he was like, yeah, you're going to miss shots, but the shots that you do get are going to be that much better. Like, you're going to miss those shots that are at 200mm unless you have a second body, which you should have a second body to get those shots. But when you hit a shot at 600mm versus the 200-600, it's going to be better. So I would say, you know, it's hard to fully say that this lens is worth it. It really depends on what you're doing with it. If you can get the value of this lens back using it professionally and getting paid, then I would say that it's definitely worth it, of course. Really what you're paying for is the extreme unique look of compression at 600mm with a super fast f4 prime, super fast autofocus, the ability to actually use those teleconverters and have it still look amazing, incredible image quality, color rendition, and contrast. Overall, it's a fantastic lens. Is it worth $14,000? It's really tough to say because the 200-600 and the 400-800 are almost too fantastic. And then there comes to the used question, or getting this on sale, and if you can do that, it's definitely more worth it. But basically, if you're a wildlife photographer who wants the absolute best quality possible and that super fast prime compressed at 600mm look with that beautiful buttery background every time with this lens, then yeah, it's probably the lens for you. Or if you find yourself with $14,000 to spare, then I guess this lens is for you too. If you enjoyed any of the photos of wildlife throughout this video, I've actually got a wildlife photography course from beginner to pro that's coming very soon. So be sure to subscribe to my newsletter in the description because I'll be sending an email out when that goes live. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new here, and hit the notification bell so that you're notified because I've got a ton of fun videos coming in the near future about wildlife, landscape, and a whole bunch of other forms of photo and video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you out there on the road.